People often live with the illusion that words vanish the moment they leave our mouths. They convince themselves that conversations dissolve into the air, forgotten, harmless, and free of consequence. This is the deadliest self-deception of our age. History is soaked in the ruins of men and women who underestimated the weight of their own voice. Leaders have been dethroned because they revealed too much. Kingdoms have crumbled because secrets slipped through careless tongues. Friendships, alliances, and families have fractured because trust died in a flood of reckless speech. The ancients, who dealt with survival in its rawest form, understood this truth far better than we do. They knew the tongue is a blade sharper than any sword, a weapon that often turns against its own master. Words do not just communicate, they expose, betray, and arm others with the tools of your undoing. Machiavelli, the relentless observer of power, warned that the mastery of words is the mastery of destiny itself. He recognized that restraint is not weakness, but strength concealed in silence. He saw that those who cannot chain their own mouths become prisoners of their impulses, casualties of their own confessions. The one who cannot govern speech will never govern anything of significance. Today, most people fail to see how their casual remarks, heated reactions, drunken admissions, or emotional outbursts serve as intelligence leaks. They underestimate how predators, social, political, and personal, collect every word like currency in a marketplace of influence. In truth, your lips can act as your own executioner, and unless you learn to hold them firm, you invite ruin with every slip. What follows are psychological snares that lure your mouth into betraying you, the very traps that transform words into chains. The first trap is anger. Rage masquerades as honesty, but in reality, it is exposure. When fury overtakes reason, the protective filter in your mind collapses. Suddenly, everything you've buried, resentments, grudges, insecurities, erupts in a torrent of unguarded confession. Anger feels powerful, yet it is the opposite. It makes you predictable. The moment someone learns what ignites your temper, they have acquired a lever to control you. They can summon your fury at will, watching you unravel as you spill the truths you thought were safe. Your moment of volcanic release becomes their archive, permanent evidence of your weakness. The powerful do feel anger, but they weaponize calm instead of explosion. They channel fury inward and act outward with precision, turning what could have been ammunition for enemies into fuel for strategy. If you cannot hold your tongue when provoked, you have already surrendered control. The second trap is victory itself. Success is more intoxicating than wine, and its greatest danger is not defeat but disclosure. When you rise, your ego aches for applause. You crave validation, wanting others to marvel at your brilliance, to understand how cleverly you maneuvered the path. But every detail you reveal is a map, every explanation a tutorial for rivals, every boast an education for those who seek to replace you. The wise conceal their methods. They allow others to see the results but never the recipe. Mystery sustains authority, while transparency dismantles it. Your competitors are not clapping for your triumphs. They are dissecting them, reverse engineering them, turning your pride into their preparation. True mastery celebrates quietly, knowing that silence safeguards tomorrow's victories. When you reveal too much, you dig the grave of your own dominance. The third snare is intoxication. Alcohol strips away the armor of inhibition. It does not invent secrets. It simply disarms the guards that keep them hidden. With each glass, your defenses weaken. What cunning spies cannot uncover through years of observation, they can harvest in a single night of your drunken honesty. Manipulators know this well. They create cozy settings, offer endless refills, and ask harmless-sounding questions. While you feel comforted, connected, and open, They are memorizing every slip of the tongue. Your drunken words become sober weapons, sharpened against you later. The private admission about your failing relationship becomes legal evidence. The casual remark about business troubles becomes a competitor's advantage. In a world where every phone is a recorder, intoxicated speech is self-destruction. Strength lies in sobriety, or at the very least, in a deliberate awareness that not all environments deserve your loosened tongue. Then comes pressure, the silent interrogator. Stress does not build character, it exposes it. When deadlines loom, when demands crush, when circumstances close in, the mask slips. People confess their inadequacies, their doubts, their failures, thinking they are venting, believing they are confiding in safe ears. But the ears that listen often belong to opportunists. Your weakness in a moment of strain becomes their long-term assessment of you. They no longer see competence, they see cracks, and cracks invite exploitation. The world rarely rewards confession under pressure, it punishes it. True resilience lies not in pretending stress doesn't exist, but in mastering the way it is revealed. To handle pressure with composure is to transform it into proof of strength. To break under it is to hand others the script of your downfall. Another trap is false sympathy. The cunning rarely approach with open hostility. Instead, they cloak themselves in vulnerability, weaving tales of hardship, appearing fragile, and inviting you into a space of shared humanity. Your natural instinct to help, to bond, to comfort takes over. You begin to reveal your own struggles in solidarity. But what feels like connection is often extraction. Your empathy arms them. Every detail you share in kindness becomes intelligence they later weaponize. True vulnerability is messy and imperfect, but performed vulnerability is polished and intentional. Learn to discern the difference, or your compassion will become the knife at your own back. Strength means helping without exposing yourself, supporting without surrendering secrets, offering kindness without becoming prey. The sixth danger is gossip, the hidden marketplace of influence. Every workplace, every circle of friends, every community runs on this silent currency. Information flows upward toward power, while betrayal trickles downward to the weak. The collector who listens but rarely shares accumulates authority. The one who speaks freely but collects little ends up stripped of influence. Gossipers think they are bonding, but in truth, they are advertising their unreliability. To repeat secrets is to declare oneself untrustworthy. Worse still, gossip not only damages others, it reveals your character more than theirs. You show your nature with every word you spread. The wise know how to listen without leaking, how to gather without distributing, how to use silence as an invisible net that captures power others waste through speech. Then there is the authority trap. When unfairly challenged, the instinct to defend, explain, or argue feels irresistible. Yet this reaction is suicide. Those above you rarely want explanations. They want to measure composure. They want to see if you can withstand pressure without breaking into emotional self-justification. By arguing, you prove their point. By defending, you reveal insecurity. The truth is that fairness has no place in structures of power. Respect is earned in results, not demanded through speech. The wise know that silence under attack is often wiser than self-defense. To remain calm, to continue producing, to let results drown criticism, that is the true response. For in the long game, outcomes outweigh words. The tongue may scream for justice, but the disciplined heart waits for vindication through action. And then, betrayal arrives. When relationships collapse, when trust disintegrates, you suddenly hold a nuclear arsenal, intimate knowledge of the other person's fears, failures, and flaws. The temptation to use this arsenal in revenge is overwhelming, but the moment you unleash it, you shatter your own credibility. You reveal that you cannot be trusted with secrets. Your enemies may burn, but so will your reputation. The strong resist the urge to weaponize betrayal. They know silence is the ultimate revenge, for it forces the other to wonder what you might reveal but never hear it spoken. The unknown is far more frightening than the known. Silence in betrayal preserves your power, while speech destroys it. In the end, every one of these traps circles back to one lesson. Control of the tongue is control of destiny. Words may feel light, but they carry the weight of your reputation, your alliances, your future. They can elevate or annihilate, fortify or fracture, crown or crucify. The most dangerous enemy is not outside. It is the mouth unguarded, the lips unchained. To master silence is not to forfeit expression, but to wield it with surgical precision. Speak rarely, but when you do, let it cut like lightning, measured, controlled, impossible to ignore. Let mystery be your armor, silence your strategy, and words your final weapon, drawn only when victory demands it. Those who waste speech waste life. Those who command speech command fate itself. People often confuse revenge with justice, especially when they hold information that could hurt someone who once betrayed them. The idea of exposing secrets feels satisfying in the heat of the moment, but in reality, it is nothing more than a destructive impulse disguised as strength. When you broadcast the weaknesses of someone else, you are not simply striking at them. You are also branding yourself as someone who cannot be trusted with confidentiality. Every personal connection is an exchange of knowledge, a vault of vulnerabilities shared on both sides. If you break that vault open in anger, you don't just destroy the relationship, you tarnish your credibility in the eyes of anyone who might work with you in the future. Potential allies, employers, or partners observe how you handle endings, and if they see betrayal, they know you will someday betray them too. What you imagine is power is actually poison. Your words linger longer than your emotions, and the stain of disloyalty outlives the thrill of revenge. The true tragedy of using private information as a weapon is not the immediate damage you cause to your target. It's the permanent damage you inflict upon your own reputation. Once others see that you are willing to reveal personal matters when hurt, every ounce of your credibility dissolves. People stop confiding in you, opportunities drift away, and doors close before you can knock. Machiavelli himself advised that harsh measures should be swift and discreet, while benefits should be gradual and savored. If retaliation must come, it should never be through the reckless release of secrets. The wise understand that silence maintains leverage. A secret kept is a card in your hand, a resource for future strategy. A secret spilled is a resource gone forever. Restraint in betrayal is not weakness, it is the highest form of power. True operators in the game of influence never squander their arsenal of knowledge for short-term satisfaction. They wait, they hold, they calculate. Their revenge, if it comes, is invisible, effective, and never tied to betrayal of trust. Silence is not surrender, it is supremacy. The next trap is what can be called the performance of competence. In moments of doubt or insecurity, people often try to overcompensate by exaggerating their intelligence, boasting of achievements, or forcing themselves into the spotlight. This verbal theater is transparent, and instead of inspiring respect, it broadcasts desperation. Insecurity shouts. It interrupts to sound important, it name-drops to sound powerful, it over-explains to sound knowledgeable. Every attempt to prove competence becomes proof of the very opposite. True skill is quiet. Real authority does not need applause. Genuine confidence does not seek validation through noise. When you attempt to act important with words, you reveal that you lack substance. The tragedy of this facade is that it makes you manipulable. Once people see that your ego needs constant reassurance, they can easily push you into exposing yourself. They learn the precise buttons to press to make you overshare, overcommit, or overreact. The irony is that in your attempt to prove strength, you are handing them proof of weakness. Machiavelli warned that greatness never comes without risk. The danger of appearing incompetent feels unbearable when insecurity eats at you. But the greater danger is announcing that incompetence through desperate displays. Silence and patience are stronger shields than empty performance. Mastery allows your work to do the speaking. The most effective individuals are willing to be underestimated in the short term because they know reality will prove them right in the long term. They trust their results to craft their reputation rather than drowning in self-promotion. They do not fear being overlooked because they understand that when the right moment comes, their ability will speak louder than any forced performance. Another peril is the prison of promises. When pressure mounts, when people demand more from you than you can deliver, your tongue begins to create obligations your hands cannot fulfill. Promises feel like solutions. They buy time, ease tension, and make people believe relief is coming. But each promise is a debt, and like any debt, it grows heavier with interest. Words may be free in the moment, but their cost arrives later when you fail to meet them. Empty commitments are the hallmark of desperation. They are illusions that provide temporary calm, but set you up for long-term collapse. Broken promises do not vanish. They accumulate as scars on your reliability. Every failed commitment corrodes trust. Every unkept vow demonstrates that your word is fragile. And every grand assurance that falls flat signals that you prioritize momentary comfort over lasting credibility. Machiavelli compared trust built on empty pledges to building on mud, unstable, weak, and destined to sink. Promises satisfy people in the moment because they too want to believe. But when those promises fail, disappointment magnifies into contempt. Both the one who makes the promise and the one who depends on it collapse together in disillusionment. The masters of power understand that the fewer promises made, the fewer debts created. They choose undercommitment and over-delivery. They prefer to exceed expectations rather than set themselves up for failure with exaggerated vows. Their reliability becomes a fortress built not on hopeful words, but on tangible action. Reputation grows not from what you promise, but from what you consistently prove. At the core of these lessons lies one unchanging reality. The tongue is either your greatest ally or your fiercest enemy. Every conversation is a battlefield disguised as casual exchange. Each interaction is a chess match, with your words either serving as precise moves or reckless blunders. The traps of anger, intoxication, pressure, false sympathy, gossip, authority challenges, revenge, insecurity, and empty promises are not rare. They happen daily, in workplaces, relationships, and friendships. The victors are not the smartest or the luckiest. They are those who understand the consequence of speech and the power of silence. Machiavelli grasped a truth few truly accept. The game of influence is not won by those who always say what they feel, but by those who discipline themselves to control what they release. In an age where everything can be recorded, remembered, and weaponized, verbal discipline is not just useful, it is survival. Every word either fortifies your position or undermines it. Every silence either shields you or creates space for advantage. The most successful figures across history were not the most talkative, they were the most deliberate. They chose their words as carefully as a warrior selects his strikes, saving speech for when it mattered most. Weakness shouts, strength whispers. Power rarely explains, it acts. And in this reality, The mastery of silence is the mastery of destiny. Your life will follow one of two paths. Either your mouth remains your jailer, betraying you with each careless syllable, or your tongue becomes your servant, sharp, strategic, and precise. If you wish to rise, protect your words as you protect your wealth. In a world full of chatter, the one who commands silence commands the future.